Hi all, this is Once and Future Gamer and welcome to another Pokemon Challenge. Last time was an intriguing run through Generation 4 as we set out to see if I could beat Pokemon Platinum with just a single Pachirisu. Today though, we head into Gen 5, we use a Pokemon I've wanted to use for a while and see if I can beat Pokemon Black using just a single Minccino. Okay then, Minccino, let us have a look at what we're working with. Not a lot is the answer, a 300 base stat total, with a whole quarter of that being our speed. HP and attack are at 55 and 50 respectively, making up just over a third of our total stats, and everything else is split across our other three stats. We are mono-normal, so we are weak to fighting and we are immune to ghost. Move-wise, we do have a signature move in Tail Slap, but it's only worth using if we get Skill Link as our ability. We don't get much in the way of useful damaging moves via level up. There is probably only really Wake Up Slap that I might get some use out of, and that's only if we can't get Brick Break as a TM. Spoiler, we don't. It appears to mostly be status moves and the occasional special attack. Via TM though, this is where we do really shine. Now that is what I would like to say, but it's not entirely true. We do get some coverage, but our physical learn set is largely limited to Return, Dig, Thief and U-Turn, and this was before Thief got buffed. There are moves like Thunderbolt and Grass Knot in there, but I question how useful they will be. We do at least get Work Up though, so that could be useful. Predictions before the start of the challenge. I can see the normal gym not being pleasant because this is a Pokemon Black challenge. I don't know how hard the rest of the gym challenge might be. Probably not too bad, but I think it will start getting hard when we get to the Elite Four. All four of them are likely to be rough, but especially Chantal and Marshall. Then N and Getsis are going to be terrible for sure, especially on the stuff we can't hit with Stab Return, like Cofagrigus. The rules. In combat, I can only use Minccino. Other Pokemon will be needed for HMs, but they are unable to fight. Only held items and Pokeballs in battle. Last of all, no glitches or exploits. If you do enjoy what you see, then like, subscribe and ring that bell. I use the Universal Pokemon Randomizer, and this time I replace Oshawott with Minccino, so that I can do the whole run with it. Now, I normally figure Cheren to be the harder opponent, and I would want him to have the Fire-type starter so that it becomes the part Fighting type Emboar. However, with Bianca's Stoutland having Intimidate, I'm starting to think she might be the harder opponent. So yeah, replacing Oshawott gives Bianca Tepig and Cheren Snivy. Before long, there's the opening fight of the game. We face off with Bianca and Tepig, and I immediately start pounding on it using our superior speed to beat up a pig. Though, the question remains as we're pounding away, what are we hitting it with? Our paws or our tail? Because if it's the paws, they're pretty short and stubby. And if it's the tail, what's the difference between that and Tail Slap? Or come to think of it, what's the difference between Tail Slap and regular old Slam? You use one appendage for one thing, you've used them all. We 4-hit Tepig and cut short my whimsical musings about the nature of Pokemon attacks. It's like that age-old debate about Goldeen learning both Horn Attack and Peck, when one of them affecting ghosts and the other not. It's like the old meme about a Machamp not being able to punch a Gengar until it does it really fast as a bullet punch. Cheren and Snivy are a lot easier, as we 2-hit Snivy with Pound, thanks to the first one being a fortunate crit. We are underway now. Let us have a look at what we are working with. We have the Adamant Nature, which is pretty handy. I haven't yet restarted the Bad Natures. I'll remind you, I once took on Pokemon Y with a single Farfetch'd who had a Modest Nature, which is terrifyingly bad. We've got the Cute Charm ability, which is perhaps the worst of the 3 abilities we could have gotten. The other 2 being Technician and Skill Link, but meh, it is what it is. It's not like it is completely useless. There'll probably be 1 or 2 fights in the game it saves me. I go and see Professor Juniper, and I genuinely have no idea what to nickname my Minccino, since I'm clearly missing that level of motivation and decision making at this point, and I eventually go for Monica, as a lot of Pokédex entries mention how the species likes things clean. It's an old reference, but did you catch where it was from? Last time I did this, I think it was in Pokemon Red with a single Rhyhorn. I don't think anyone got it to date. Actually, no, it was Emerald with Minccino that I quizzed you on where you thought I got the nickname from last, and somebody actually did get it. I head out onto Route 1 and I'm immediately going to go and train the attack EV stat. Well, since we have that adamant nature, it'd be rude not to do so. Even Smogon states that this is an ideal place to train the attack EV stat. I want to hit like a very small, very furry wrecking ball with this huge tail. I mean, I know they talk about using it like a brush, but have you ever taken a brush to the face? It's not pleasant. I think the way I'm going off on these tangents at this point might just be that I'm tired at start of writing, or it might just be a very weird video with some of my thoughts, or it might calm down as time goes by. Who knows? It is not long before we make it to the next town and we have to fight 10, which given the training that we've done doesn't exactly have me shaking in my boots. Thanks to said training, Monica is at level 14 and I think our EVs should be pretty good. N just uses a single Purloin in this battle and we smack into it with a pound, critting our blow to take it down in one hit, and that was a bit of an anticlimax. Purloin is also something I want to use in a challenge somewhere too. There's a Bianca fight before we reach Striaton City, since this is Pokemon Black with its 38 million rival fights. I'm not wrong, you know, there's technically 5 rival fights before you hit the first gym, if you include N. Thanks to the training we've done so far, I don't know how hard this is going to be. Lillipup is a one hit with Pound, which doesn't entirely surprise me at all, given the level advantage and the fact we've been beating those senseless for EVs, but when it does evolve, it will be an annoying opponent. Tepig is next and it survives our Pound before hitting a tackle in exchange. She heals it and we take it out with another tackle attack. It doesn't seem like 2 minutes since I did Pokemon Alpha Sapphire with a single Tepig near the start of the year. I don't know where the time is going. We've reached Striaton City, the site of the first gym, but before we can go and face the leader, we've got to go and beat Charon in the trainer's school. So let's go and see how he holds up against us. He wants to keep it calm because we're in a school. I'd be happy to traumatise the local children as Monica puts his Snivy in a chokehold and then slams its head into the ground. It'd be a bit of a weird Pokemon game, that I will say. Anyway, Snivy is a 2-hit with Pound, only hitting Aaliyah in exchange. Even eating a berry isn't enough to save it as we stand victorious in that round. Next is Purloin, and we've had plenty of practice at beating these up now, and we down it with a single Pound. It is time for the first gym, and I think the way we've set the game up means that we will be fighting Silent. I'm almost certain of it, so we are going to be going toe to toe with Pansage come the end of it. I always think this is a supremely neat idea for the first gym in Gen 5, that it's not entirely going to be the same depending on who you picked as a starter. Debate how much you like the elemental monkeys or not, and I know most people hate them, but it is a neat idea for a gym. I did a challenge in a ROM hack, Pokemon Unova Red once, with just those 3 monkeys, because people apparently like devolving Gen 5 to Game Boy Color mechanics. Lillipup is first and we smack it with a Pound to weaken it while it goes for workup. It doesn't get the chance to take advantage of that buff as we drop it with another Pound. Then it's time for Pansage, and I know something. It's going to go for workup, and so I decide to mess with him. We go for Tickle to lower physical attack and defense while it does use workup to raise its attack back to normal. We go for another Tickle and then it goes for another workup. Attack back to normal, defense still low. We go for a third Tickle and it then goes for a third workup. I think a light breeze might take it out at this point, so we pound it and get the badge for the win when Pansage goes down. There is another Charon fight shortly after, because why not? I mean, he does insist on gauging his strength against ours, since we should be at the same level in his eyes. He's not taking into account the super amount of grinding I did at the start, clearly. I go for a workup versus Snivy, who uses Leer. On the next turn, it survives our pound, but only goes to growth before we down it with another pound, the berry not saving it from a second attack. Purloin is a customary one-hit knockout with pound, and we can move on. The next real major fight is the N one outside the Nakreen Museum, and it's never really a hard one this. That said, when it begins and he sends out his first Pokemon, the P-Dove, we take a decent chunk of damage from it as it leers us while we go for workup. I go for a second use of the move, but we get hit with 2 quick attacks before we get the chance to hit a damaging move with pound, and it nearly takes out half our health. Timber is a one hit with our +2 pound though, and Timpole is last, and we duly wreck it with another pound for a victory. The normal gym is usually horrific, and I've got no reason to believe it won't be the same here. Lenora is really hard in single Pokemon runs, so I need to be well prepared. I go on the grinding trail and eventually rock up to face her at level 23. Now, we have Sing in our arsenal, so I'm going to play this cleverly. If we can keep Herdia asleep while we power up with Workup, we should be laughing. It doesn't play out entirely according to plan. We get intimidated, but at least Sing does land the first time. We go for Workup, and then Herdia wakes up the same turn and smashes into us with Takedown. I'm just saying, but if that was us who'd been put to sleep, we'd have been out cold for at least 6 turns. We land a second Sing and go for another 2 Workups, but it wakes up after we do the third one altogether and ends us with a second Takedown. Not good at all, that. I'm going to try that again. I have a cunning plan, and I know what I might be better off doing. We got absolutely murdered by Takedown, so maybe we need to cut Herdia's attack a little. Might be a better strategy. I make so many efforts and we never get what we need to. I reckon I need at least 3 Workups. 1 to negate the Intimidate and 2 to power us up. Herdia just messes us up so badly. And it doesn't help that Sing is not the most accurate move ever, and there were quite a few attempts when it landed, and Herdia just woke up again straight away next turn. Takedown at this level does just over half in its base form, so I think it's time to get stronger and grind away after all these efforts. Always fun in Generation 5 this gym, not. I come back at level 25 when we have Tail Slap after I decided to get rid of Tickle. I'll try to put Herdia to sleep. I'll work up twice and then try to Tail Slap it and hope I get a high roll of 5 hits. This is an interesting fight as we still take well over half our health in damage from Takedown, and that does make me worried for the rest of the game, especially Marshall. We do have to use Sing twice, but 2 Workups put us at +1 in attack, and I take a swing at Herdia with Tail Slap. We hit twice and smack it down. Okay, that's good. Now we need to take on Watchog. If we miss Tail Slap or it doesn't hit enough times to knock it out, it is not going to be good for us. We are faster, thankfully. Our Tail Slap hits once, it hits twice, it hits thrice, and the third one puts it on red health before the fourth knocks it out, and I am jubilant. 2 badges down. The next of the major fights is with Berg in Castelia City. Not that it is a short trip to get there. This fight has the potential to be horrible, so we do need to be careful. I'm only now remembering the potential badness we might face in this fight. Whirlipede likes to screech, which will mess us up, versus Levani if we're more delicate. The first effort goes quite bad, as I get screwed hard by the accuracy of Sing. It misses Whirlipede at the first attempt, and we get hit with Poison Tail. I try to power up after hitting Sing at the second attempt, but Whirlipede will just not stay asleep, waking up after 1 turn this time, and the time after that. 4 times I have to put it to sleep. And fun fact, 3 Workups is not enough to one-hit Whirlipede with pound. I need 4. Wake Up Slap isn't going to do a whole lot of good as a move here. About the only saving grace is that our cute charm activates. When we do hit Whirlipede with pound, it survives on red health and we go for another Workup while Berg heals. Then we one-hit that opponent. Dwebble is next. I don't think we one-hit that, so I go for Sing. Twice. It misses both times, and we duly get defeated with Smackdown and Feint Attack. Does Dwebble actually have Sturdy in this game, or is that only in the sequels actually? Oh, fun fact, it doesn't. So, that was a whole waste of time trying to sing it at the end of the last battle. Should have just wake up slapped it. Let's make a few more tries. One effort directly after comes to naught when we get poisoned early in the fight, but the time after goes a lot more smooth as we manage to put Whirlipede to sleep on the first turn, and it stays asleep long enough for us to get 3 workups off, which, given how Sing has worked so far, is nothing short of minorly miraculous. The worst part is, I think I'll need Sing for at least 2 fights later in the game. We do get hit with Screech though when it wakes up. This time though, we one-hit Whirlipede with Pound. Dwebble comes out next and we one-hit that with Wake Up Slap, which makes the end of the last fight a little more annoying. Leavanny is last. It survives Pound on about a third and hits String Shot to try and slow us down. That's what it's trying to do anyway. It doesn't take, and we finish it off with a second Pound. Time for Bianca before we leave Castelia City, the first in a trio of rival fights before we get to the next gym. Oh, the electric gym might be quite rough for us too. Mind you, actually, I think we might be fine because we will have returned by then. Anyway, Bianca. Now, she begins with Herdia, who intimidates us, and this is going to be a recurring pattern throughout all our fights with her. So, I go for Sing, which of course misses, and we get caught by Oda Sleuth. That could be a lot worse though. We put it to sleep at the next attempt and get 2 workups going. It wakes up, misses takedown, and then we down it with a wake-up slap for a win. Muna is second, and we one-hit that with Pound, which I am surprised by, if I'm honest, before Pignite is third. I definitely don't think we'll one-hit this, but I turn out to be wrong, as we get the crit, possibly thanks to the scope lens we are holding. Last is Pansage, and it doesn't hold up versus us as we drop it with Pound. Smoothing off. Next up is Cheron, and we have to fight him in a sandstorm, which is never entirely pleasant, so there is a lot of ways this can go wrong. That is not an exaggeration, as it nearly comes to pass. Cheron begins with P-Dove, and I decide to forego messing about with Sing in favour of 1 workup. Unfortunately, P-Dove has quick attack and isn't afraid to use it, smashing into us with it twice, while we also get worked over by the sandstorm. But we do drop it with Pound eventually. Servine survives Pound and hits Leech Seed, which is bad, but at least it is manageable as we take more damage and then put Servine down with another Pound. Pampor is third and it's a 1-hit with Pound before the last one is Lipard, and I don't think it has Fake Out here, thankfully, which would be quite bad, and we drop it with a Wake Up Slap. After exploration, we wander into Nimbasa City and we have to fight En at the Ferris wheel before long. This is a fight that's never particularly worrying, but I do find it quite memorable for the atmosphere, as it is the moment when he reveals himself to be the king of Team Plasma. We fight him pretty quickly after the wild ride and he begins with Sandile. We smack it down with Return, and that will probably be our go-to move for a while. With our current moveset, the only worry we have at the moment is Ghost types. I might have to get rid of Sing and try to relearn it later for Chantal and Getsis. Darumaka and Scraggy are next, and neither of them is a particularly challenging opponent as they both get smacked out with a return each, to mean we have to face the final opponent, and that is Sigilif. We're on the return roll though, and we smack it out hard with that same move for the 4th turn in a row to give us a victory! The Electric Gym and the fight with Elisa is next, and this one has the chance to go badly. I think we'll probably be okay, but the only thing that worries me is paralysis, because being slower and possibly unable to move at all will likely mess us up. I don't think we'll survive a multitude of hits from her Pokemon. Anyway, the fight begins and we are faster than Emolga number 1 and we smack it out with return to give us a quick win. Unfortunately though, we get paralysed by static and we all knew that was probably going to happen. The second Emolga hits us with Volt Switch and goes into Zeb Striker, but we fight through the paralysis and we one-hit Zeb Striker with a single return to give us a massive win. The second Emolga comes back out and hits us with another Volt Switch, these attacks doing a decent amount of damage to us. Once again, we fight through paralysis though and take it down with return. 4 badges down, nice. There is a Cherren fight as we leave town and this one shouldn't be too bad. At least this one isn't in a sandstorm like the previous one. That's always the worst bit about the previous one in the desert. This one is a breeze compared to that. Anyway, he begins with Lipard and we try to work up only to get clumped by Fake Out, which isn't ideal. We get a work up going and Lipard hits us with Pursuit. We take it out with a wake up slap though. Pampo is next and we down it with return to put us 2 up in the fight. Third is Servine and that also doesn't survive a return before his final Pokemon is Tranquil. It saves itself for a turn with Detect, but we drop it at the next attempt with return to give us a swift win over Cherren. The next major fight is the Ground Gym, and I was a bit worried about this, but given that 2 of Clay's Pokemon are weak to the fighting type, I figure that we should be okay. I think if we start taking hits from Excadrill, it might be bad, but offensively, I think he needs to be more worried about us. Krokorok is out first, and I might have been tempted to power up with Work Up. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure it knows Swagger, which makes the fight too unpredictable for my liking. We drop it with Wake Up Slap. Palpitoad is next, and now I go for Work Up while it goes for Aqua Ring, creating a stalemate in the first round before we drop it with a return. Last is Excadrill, and it survives Wake Up Slap on a Sliver before hitting Bulldoze for big damage. He heals it, we hit another Wake Up Slap to put it into red health. Then he heals it, we put it into red health with another Wake Up Slap, but we've got him in a corner and we take him out on the next turn to give us the win, to give us the 5th badge, and we can move on, which is pretty nice. As we leave town, Bianca appears to fight us, and I figure this might be a bit worrying, considering, as always, she has an Intimidator up front. This is why last week's challenge was pretty nice, with Pachirisu being a special attacker. We didn't have to worry too much about being intimidated. Work Up will negate it, but if we do want to power up, we are operating from behind from the start. We do that very strategy versus Herdia, going for Work Up, while it hits us with Takedown for pretty meagre damage. We go for another Work Up because I am confident we will survive another Takedown, and then it matches us with a Work Up of its own. My nerve goes and we drop it with a Wake Up Slap for a win. Pignite is out next and we one-hit that with return, much to my surprise and delight. Next is Pansage, and that also goes down to return to leave just the Mashana left, who comes out 4th, and we smack into that with return to take the victory. Let's move on. As I go through Chargestone Cave, let's take a moment and talk about what's ongoing with the channel then, and what happened on the week that just passed. To start with, there was part 9 of the playthrough of Hogwarts Legacy last Sunday, which I haven't played much of lately, for the same reason that there was no Pokemon Gold Unova of late. It's hard been getting the chance to record Let's Plays of late. I will get back to it, I want to get back to it. Then, on Monday and Friday, we had episodes 39 and 40, respectively, of Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. That should be concluded by this time next week, incredibly. Feels like I've been doing it for about 6 months, which is actually probably accurate. Great story, horrible controls. I can't really write that anymore after next week, so I'm getting that in while I can. Since I love to moan about the controls on Skyward Sword HD. I'm still undecided on which Legend of Zelda I'm going to take a stab at next. I'll probably decide on the day I start recording. But I am leaning towards Wind Waker because I've not played it for a very long time. Mind you, you could say the same about Twilight Princess and the Oracle games if I'm honest. I've not played them for a long time either. Actually, it might be Ocarina of Time that I do. There was episode 9 of RE2 Remake, and that will also be concluded next week too, for now. Next week seems a natural bookend for some stuff. There was also a return to the world of Pokemon Gold Unova, as episodes 18 and 19 came out after a break for a week. I'm not sure how much is left of that, but I'd guess possibly quite a bit. Anyway, this is the final challenge of Rodent Month, and it's been an interesting one for sure. 5 of them. It's been gruelling actually. Next month is going to be a second chance month, so I'm going to revisit the themes of the first 4 months and go again. Starting with a revisit of the rock type, as next week I see if I can beat Pokemon Emerald with just a single Aron. I didn't do a Game Boy Advance challenge this month, which is surprising. I've got an Emerald challenge ahead, a White 2 challenge in mind, and the other one is probably going to be in Fire Red. I haven't completely decided on that last one yet. So, as always, if you have any ideas for future challenges, head to the comments section down below or follow the links in the description to my Twitter or my Discord. I'm interested to hear what you have in mind. Like I said before, there's only 3 planned challenges next month due to my holiday. If you want to support the channel, there's a link to my Patreon down below, or alternatively, tell a friend, spread the word, help the channel grow. What about leaving a like and a comment? Maybe even subscribe if you haven't already done so. It's all good for the algorithm. Go on, right now. Please? Pretty please? As always, thanks for watching. Back to the regular content right now then. At the end of Chargestone Cave, we fight N and his team of rock and steel types that he found dotted around the area. Seeing what N does here in this game with his teams, it actually gives me a bit of an idea for something in the future. We'll see. A lot of these ideas I have never get off the ground. Anyway, first is Boldore, and we go for a workup while it goes for Iron Defence, which isn't necessarily something that we do want to see. Still, we hit it with Wake Up Slap and do about 3/4 while it goes for another Iron Defence. So that could get really worrying. It doesn't though, and we take it down with another Wake Up Slap. Joltik is second and we drop that with Return. Joltik, another Pokemon I want to use in a run at some point. Gen 5 is literally littered with them. Ferroseed is next and we smack it out with Wake Up Slap, taking some damage in return from the Iron Barbs. Last is Clink, and that's also a one hit with Wake Up Slap. We've got the Flying type gym next. I'm really not too concerned about this. We are building up a bit of a level advantage over who we're facing, but I think we are going to need it as the game progresses, particularly when we get to the Elite Four, so hence the building of our levels. I've never found Skylar particularly threatening, if I'm honest. Imminent defeat ahead then? I go for a workup at the start because I know Swoobat is going to go for Amnesia. I might as well make sure of what's going to happen. We then hit Swoobat with Return and quite predictably take it out. Next is Unpheasant, and that is also a one hit with Return for the victory before Swanner is last, and once again we smash into it with Return, and just like that we've claimed the win and the 6th badge. Before we go into Twist Mountain, there is a Cherrim fight. It is actually the season of winter, so Twist Mountain should be easy when we get in there, which is pretty nice. I would say Twist Mountain can be pretty annoying. It's not difficult, but it can be irritating, which is probably the best way of putting it. This fight plays out nicely as we go for Workup versus Unpheasant, who goes for Detect. Great move choice from us. We one hit the bird with Return next turn. Then it's the turn of Servine, who comes out and gets smacked with Return for a one-hit knockout. Simipour is third, and once again we deck it with Return before the final opponent is Liepard. It hits a fake out to stall us for one turn, and then we end it on the next turn to take victory over Cherrim. One fight left for each of our rivals now, but none for a bit. Next is the Ice Gym, and it is one of the less obnoxious ones puzzle-wise in Ice Gyms, so we can sweep through with relatively little trouble. and I think either of our main moves will probably massively mess up Bryson's team with ease. Versus Vanillish at the start, we go for a workup just because we can, and then it goes for acid armour. Can our attack boost beat its raised defence? Yes it can. We down it with a single return. Beartic is next, one of my favourites in Gen 5, and we down it with return to give us a second win in this fight before Cryogonal is last, and once again we wreck it with return for the victory. 7 badges down. There is story stuff next, and we power through it, going through the Dragon Spiral Tower and later the desert and back to Nakreen City before we have the next major fight of the game, which will be against Bianca. I know a lot of people aren't huge fans of Generation 5, but I like it if I'm honest. It has at least 3 of my all-time favourite Pokemon in it. Haxorus, Crocodile and Beartic. There's a lot in here that I really dig. I mean, there's also ones like Seismitoad, who I think is pretty cool. There's Archeops, who I think has a neat design. Volcarona, who I like. Gen 5 is awesome from my point of view. Do I think they'll remake it in the future? Oh yeah, I think that's coming. Do I think it's a good thing? Well, I think if you look at the Gen 4 remakes, I'd consider it a sign of worry. That said, it's very easy to go on about how good HGSS and Auras are as remakes, but I'd consider that their base form was pretty basic, especially base gold and silver. Good game, very, very low tech compared to what came later. Even Ruby and Sapphire weren't the most advanced games looking back, so their remakes definitely put a lot of polish on with the advancements of later tech. But I always think, how can you improve on something that already feels pretty fleshed out? Diamond and Pearl had some issues, most of which were fixed by a little thing called Pokemon Platinum, but for a first try on a new console, they weren't that problematic. They really utilised what the DS could do. And to be honest, most of the stuff that came in Gen 4 is still around today. Compared to the Game Boy Color, the DS was different level. Not next level even, several levels above. Hence why HGSS always looks like a great remake, because it took what was there and then they adapted it with what they'd done since. I don't know how much they'll A, be inclined to with a black and white remake, or B, be able to do that with that remake, especially if BDSP is anything to go by. I actually think the best case scenario for Gen 5 going forward, not technically a remake, but it's a Legends game. I think that's the best case scenario. Musing's over, it's time to go and fight Bianca. This is the flip side of it being winter. We've got to fight her in the hail, which is a little worrying, but I think we might have enough to get through this, especially if we can get powered up. First 2 turns of the fight, we go for 2 workups after getting intimidated by Stoutland. Now, there have been times when I've done this fight and it's gone for workup itself, but unfortunately, this isn't one of those times and we get hit with 2 retaliates. Bianca obviously looked at every previous fight and thought, aha! But after the second workup, we one-hit Stoutland with return, which is massive. We take Embo down with a single return, which I'm incredibly surprised about, but I'll take it. Simisage is also a one-hit with return, so that's a big relief. And last is Mashana, who we also smash with return, and thus we get ourselves a win. It's time for the Dragon Gym, and this one should be simple enough. I mean, I've got a strategy I've been employing for the last few gyms, so this should be straightforward enough. The problems will come against opponents that we can't smash with return. I will say that now. There's 2 notable upcoming opponents. Versus Drayden, we begin versus Fracture, and because we'll need the power, not necessarily for Fracture, but what's next, we go for 2 workups. It goes for 2 Dragon Dancers though. We are still faster, which is good, as we smack into it with return and drop it hard to put us 1 up. Drudigon is next, and these things keep giving me a lot of trouble when fighting them on the gym trainers, particularly one that kept murdering me with revenge. We one-hit that with return thanks to our buffs. Last is Haxorus, and I figure a Dragon Dance might be incoming, so I go for another workup. It hits a Dragon Tail though, but it can't switch us out because we have nothing else in the party, and we retaliate by smashing it with return. 8 badges down! Before we enter Victory Road, we have to do the final Cherren fight, which isn't necessarily a fun thing, but I don't think it will be particularly hard if I'm honest. We will have to take necessary precautions, but we should be fine. Let's go and tear through his team. Unpheasant is first and we use Work Up, while the bird starts to charge up Razorwind. We could probably tank the move if we needed another Work Up, but I don't think we will, and we drop it with Return. Next is Superior, the best of the Universe starters, and we drop it with a single Return. That should have been the starter that was in Legends Arceus, not Samurott. Simipour is third, and we drop it with Return before the last opponent is Liepard. It doesn't try to stop us with Fake Out, and we take it down with Wake Up Slap for a victory. Moving on then. I battle through Victory Road, and it's not long before we stand at the Pokemon League, and here are our stats at level 69. Is it cliche if I say nice? Those defense stats genuinely terrify me, especially with the number of fighting types and fighting type moves we're going to face. The special attack we're not using, that's fine, that's bad, I don't care. Our speed is good and our attack is pretty decent as well, so I can't complain about that. But I truly fear what's going to happen in these fights ahead. Each one of them is capable of messing us up so badly, so I wonder just how many tries this is going to take us. Chantal, we can't use our best moves on. Grimsley, I think we are going to struggle to damage. Caitlin is probably going to wreck us with our low special defense, and Marshall can hit us with super effective damage, so yes, not a fun time ahead. I doubt we're going to be able to beat them all at this level, but take your guesses on if we can do it or not right now. I decide to start with Caitlin first, since I figure this may be the easiest one. I'm sure we will have at least one Focus Blast fired at us, but at least with that move there's a chance it's going to miss. If you had to pick a Pokemon move to land and save your life, I don't think anyone on this earth would pick Focus Blast. My prediction comes true as we begin the fight with Caitlin and I go for a Work Up. And then, right on the very first turn, Focus Blast lands from Uniclus and one hits us from full health when we are 21 levels higher. So, that just happened. I retry that, determined that I am going to do this. After all, Focus Blast can't land every single time, I'm certain of it. How many attempts will it be before one misses? I'm sure it'll not be long. Actually, it was 7 attempts before Focus Blast missed, which is some of the most bullcrap maths I've ever seen because it's definitely that sort of move. Anyway, fun fact. Even when we do get the Work Up happening and Focus Blast actually misses, we still can't actually one-hit Reuniclus with Return, which is a little worrying, so that's a massive, massive problem. I will try Grimsley instead. I don't think we'll have massively much more luck, but I can see for nothing. See, he has a Crocodile that has Intimidate as an ability, but before that, there's a Scrafty we have to fight our way through, who can be a really tricky opponent because one hard fighting move is going to really hurt us. Plus, it has a Sand Attack. We do go for a Work Up versus Scrafty and get hit with Sand Attack. It survives our return and lamps us with Brick Break, but we do manage to survive that move, thankfully. When he heals, I go for another Work Up, and then at least we do down Scrafty. Next is Crocodile, and our attack gets lowered back down to +1, and that's worrying, but we do at least manage to one-hit that opponent with Return. Bisharp is next, and it's a simple matter to one-hit that with Wake Up Slap before Liepard is last. We do get hit with Fake Out, but we do shrug it off and take it out with another Wake Up Slap to give us victory. I am going to try Marshall. This could be dangerous, but I want to see how we do at this point. There's danger in his team. His throw likes to go for Bulldoze, which lowers speed, and that has been lethal in these runs before. But I think it might try to hit us with a fighting move instead. Sork is always the dangerous one, unfortunately, because of Sturdy. Our first effort nearly goes so well. We get the Work Up versus Throw, who does go for Bulldoze to lower our speed. Not good. It survives return on the next round, unfortunately, and hits another bulldoze, a crit to lower our speed even further before he heals it. We go for another workup, and then, when we land return, we manage to take it down. Conkelder is a one hit with return before the next opponent is Minccino, and thanks to bulldoze, we are slower and we get taken down with jump kick. Oh dear, definitely not good. I make a few more tries at Marshall just to see what happens, if any moves miss or anything changes. I discover something on the last attempt I try for the moment. Even just one bulldoze from throw is enough to make it so that Minccino is faster than us, and that is definitely not good in the slightest. Jump kick isn't the most accurate of moves, but I don't want to keep trying this and hoping for a miss 3 Pokemon in, so I'm going to go and train. Hoping for a miss first turn, first round is fine. 3 Pokemon in is ridiculous. I go and grind up in Victory Road. Not a fast process given that most of the Pokemon here resist us, the Durant and the Boldor, but I can't think of anywhere else that's really better. Well, I suppose I could go that route south of November Town, but it's not necessarily better, I don't think. It's a rough old slog, and we've seen some of the problems that await. I think I want to try again at level 75, but I'm not sure even then that it's going to be good enough to win the run. I can very rarely see us having to be in the 80s to beat the Elite Four, but I guess we can only do what we can do. I intended to go back at level 75, but I decided that too much was not an option here, and I went in at level 77. I go for Caitlin on my retry, and I'm a little apprehensive. We beat Grimsley easily enough before, but the next 3 are different levels. Hopefully, our training session makes some difference. We go for the workup versus Reuniclus, and then it lands Focus Blast, and I do fear the worst, but we do actually survive on 2 HP. Wow! We take it down with return on the next turn and get some health back. Sigilif is next, and we down it with return to get some health back. Third is Gothitelle, and I'm a little worried, but once again, we hit that and get the takedown with return. Phew! Last is Mashana, and I don't know if we'll one-hit that opponent or not, but another return takes it down, and then we can move on with the Elite Four to the next opponent. 2 down. Marshall then. For all the fact that he can hit us with super effective damage, I still think it will be an easier fight than Chantal, who, you might have noticed, I haven't actually tried to fight yet. I am dreading that Cofagrigus fight with Thief as our best move for damaging it. Anyway, Marshall. We begin with a workup versus throw and get hit with bulldoze. The words uh-oh spring to mind. We hit return, but it survives on red health and lands a crit storm throw that we survive, thankfully. He heals it and we manage to get another workup going before downing it with return at the second attempt. Conkelder is second and we drop it with a return to get some more health back. Minccino is third and it's the moment of truth, but we do outspeed and take it down with return. Sork is going to be close as we hit a return. It survives thanks to Sturdy and lands a karate chop that puts us in red health. He heals and we take it out with return and wake up slap. 3 down! Okay then, I need to really make a stab at Chantal. I'm not sure how this is going to go, but badly might be a reasonable guess. I saved her for last because, worst case scenario, I can grind on the Elite Four beforehand. Sounds painful, I know. They are mostly manageable, I'd say, and will only get more so if we keep on grinding. Anyway, Chantal. This actually starts quite well, but gets worse as time goes by. So, we go for a workup versus the dreaded Cofagrigus and get hit with Psychic. It survives Thief on about a quarter, which is better than I thought, and hits another Psychic, meaning we can take it out with a second hit. Golurk is next, and although we do massive damage with Thief, it ends itself with Curse, and that is pretty bad, because we are on a timer now. So, third is Chandelure, and it also survives Thief on about a fifth of its health, but it does burn us with Flame Body, and then finishes us off with Fire Blast. Oh dear, let's try that again. This takes so many attempts, and we lose so many of them due to getting burned, because if that happens, we are done for. We have no chance of knocking anything out. At least Cophagragus is the first opponent, and as a result, the worst that has to happen is we reset, which isn't too bad at this point. I like, and by that I mean absolutely hate, how Will-O-Wisp suddenly turns into Swift here and lands every single time. That wasn't at all annoying, but it is what it is, and we keep on plugging away with efforts as I discover we need 3 workups to one-hit Cophagragus. And eventually, we get such a run where it never tries to burn us, thankfully for sure, and as a result, we can work up once, it can hit us with Psychic again and again, but working up twice means we can get it to the point where she needs to heal when we hit it with Thief. A third workup means that we are capable of one-hitting Cophagragus. Now, I doubt Getsis is going to give us that many free shots at his though, but we'll have to see. That is a problem for the future. This time, we one-hit Golurk, and that is massive because there's no dangers of us being cursed. We one-hit Chandelure, and thankfully don't get burned as we strike it with Thief before Jellicent is last, and I am a little worried that we don't one-hit, but we do, and we take it down hard to give us the victory. So, N then, and this one could be deeply interesting, and by that I mean it's liable to massively suck. I don't know how well we're going to tank blasts from Zekrom, but badly might be my guess. The first part of this fight is always a pain the first time around, where the game refuses to acknowledge what I'm trying to do and insists that the 2 box art legendaries fight. I steadfastly refuse to play the game of the game and hook Pokeballs at Zekrom while it takes its sweet time trying to knock out Reshiram, which is a bit annoying because it seems to take its time. The actual fight itself starts when Monica comes out, and it is a bit of an anticlimax. We nearly get a bit of a cheap result when Zekrom knocked Reshiram out, and we came in on the recharge turn for a Giga Impact, which let us get a workup going absolutely unscathed. Unfortunately, Zekrom survives our return and then crits Fusion Bolt to one-hit us from full health, which is a bit annoying, I'm not going to lie. I do train up to level 80 and then return, just to see how we fare. I do want that little bit of extra power behind me. We are dealing with a pair of pretty tough opponents after all. I don't want to have to grind up even more after this, so hopefully this is the turning point. I make several attempts and we just can't win, even at this level. We can't power up this Zekrom because it will just 2-hit us with Fusion Bolt, and it never goes for a different move. When I forego workup and 2-hit it with return, keep in mind we can't one-hit it right now with a single workup boosting us. It does get us further into the fight. There are attempts where I beat Zoroark and Klinklang and Vanillux, but we are too weak after taking damage from Zekrom and Klinklang, and we get beaten by Caracosta, who we cannot one-hit thanks to the sturdy ability. So, I think we need to go and grind once again. I get to level 82, and then I come up with an idea that might help us versus N. As a strategy, I'm not sure how good it will be versus Getsis, but versus N, this might be a winner. My great plan was to use Dig, since ground is good versus a bunch of his team, but unfortunately, it doesn't work out that way, and we can't one-hit Zekrom with Dig, even after workup. That is deeply annoying, as we take less damage, but we still get 2 hits with Fusion Bolt. Looks like I was right earlier when I said we might have to be about mid-80s level-wise. This is going on far, far, far too long. I grind up to level 87 and then try again. To put this in perspective, it's being recorded Wednesday morning now for a Saturday evening release. I am cutting this pretty fine. Okay, so this effort I do get some relief. We are a lot stronger than when we first tried, and so after we work up, we take a lot less damage from Fusion Bolt from Zekrom. We still take over half our health, but not by much now. Then we can, at long last, finally down Zekrom with a single dig to get some health back. Whew! Next is Zoroark, disguised as Klinklang, and we destroy that with a crit wake up slap to get some health back. The real Klinklang is next, and we wreck that with a dig. It misses a flash cannon and we drop it. Vanillux is fourth, and we take that down with a return, meaning that we've got a lot of health as we go into Caracosta and start wake up slapping. It survives our first move and hits Stone Edge, but we crucially survive the blow. He heals it and we wake up slap twice more to take it down, but we are weaker than we were. Archeops is last, and thankfully wake up slap drops it below half health, meaning that Defeatist kicks in and we survive Stone Edge hardily, and we can take it down with another wake up slap to give us a long awaited win. Gets this then, and we all know what is going to happen. There is a strategy that I can employ, but I'm not sure it's going to work on the first attempt. It's more a second attempt with time to plan effort. Screw it, I'll call it what it is. It's Batman with a plan tactics. We have a back and forth with Cofagrigus. We are immensely helped when it goes for Protect on the first turn, which means that we can work up with Impudence for a turn. I strike it with a dig across the next 2 turns. It misses one Toxic while we're underground, but strikes us with a second one when we come out of the dirt. I think it will Protect, so I work up once again. The problem with dig is that it takes 2 turns to execute, which isn't good when you're under toxic circumstances. We do eventually strike Cofagrigus down, but it's a case of how long we can survive now rather than if we win. This is why this fight is rough. If we get poisoned, we've pretty much lost. We can strike Hydreigon down with a single return, which is actually massive, and we also take out Bouffalante, but that is when the poison gets to us and faints us. There is a way, and I go to this strategy after training to the next level. The strategy is to use a Peachy Berry to heal any toxic that comes our way. It is a trick I can only pull once in the fight, and we won't be able to use any other items, but hopefully it is enough. The next round at level 88 goes as the first one did, with Cofagrigus using Protect while we work up. We then go for Dig while it misses Toxic, and we strike it with the said Dig on the next turn while it does then poison us. We eat the berry and then it goes to Protect on the next turn while we go underground, leaving it defenceless to being knocked out by Dig. Okay, now we're cooking. I hope one workup is enough. We one-hit Hydreigon with return, which is massive because a Focus Blast was about to come our way, I think, and knowing how this went against Caitlyn, it will probably land 100% of the time, but now it's not a problem. Next is Bouffalante, who we take down with a single return for the win. Seismitoad is fourth, and that also goes down to a single return, and we are on a roll. Fifth is Bishop, and we wake up slap that down for a knockout. And finally, the last opponent is Electros, who we down with a single return. So, not only did we win, we beat Getsis without taking a hit. At last! With that, we conquer him, we beat the game, and I can breathe a huge sigh of relief as Getsis goes to face his just desserts, never to threaten the Unova region with his brand of madness ever again. And so, they all lived happily ever after. For about 2 years. Anyway, N learns a valuable lesson about people with different opinions not being bad. Can you imagine N as a keyboard warrior on Twitter? Suddenly, I can. And the credits roll. Phew, that was brutal at the end. I'm so glad that one's done. Most of the audio is recorded by this point, but I've got about 4 days to edit before it goes live. So, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and a comment, subscribe away if you haven't already done so. I'm hoping to double the number of subscribers to the channel this year, which is kind of a goal, so spread the word, tell a friend. As always, if you have any ideas for future challenges, head to the comments section or follow the links in the description to my Twitter or my Discord. Always curious to see what you have in mind. And anyway, that is it for Rodent Month. Join me again next month for the first challenge of Second Chance Month as we see if I can beat Pokemon Emerald with just a single Aaron as we visit the theme of Rock-type month. So, in theory, we're going back to February. There's sure to be some pain there, I would imagine, but we will see because I will see you there, folks. So, outro time. Life is ticking over nicely. It was my birthday a few weeks back, and I didn't really have a big, massive, funky meltdown this time, so that's something good, I guess. Just a few weeks now before I go on holiday, and I am so looking forward to that. It's been too long since I left the country and went away, so I'm looking forward to some sun, some good food, and just general chill. It'll recharge me up for the second half of the year on the channel. This month was a grind, so yeah, bit of a rest might do me good. I was thinking earlier, these challenges, it's not necessarily a challenge of if I can beat the game or not. It's often a challenge of if I can beat it, record the audio and edit it all together within a set period of time. And that's often something else entirely. It's probably the reason I don't do as many team runs as I could do. It is a lot easier with single Pokemon challenges. Just something I thought about. Earlier, I said I've got about 4 days to edit it. Now that might sound like a long time, but keep in mind I do work a full-time job. I'm going to have to sleep at some point, so it's not quite as much as you might think. Plus, these Let's Plays aren't going to record themselves. As always, folks, I'm going to jump off here. Thanks for watching. This has been Once and Future Gamer, and this has been Pokemon Black with a single Minccino. Take care all, have a great day, and I will see you next time. Bye bye now. So long, farewell, good night.